There'll be questions after at the end. So the little experiment on seeing how long it took for 3, I'm going to have to be a little bit more strict when it comes to the 2 minutes and the 1 minute, the timelines, because we have took about almost 20 minutes to do 3 people, and we've got about 8 left too. So at this time, I'm going to call up those candidates, and when it's all over, we'll do questions and answers. So I might be here, I might not. Assembly Seat B, Mark Ames and Luke Hopkins. Luke. And Assembly Seat I don't see Mark Ames. Assembly Seat I, Guy Sally, Dave Miles, and Valerie Therian. And sitting on that side, you can't see, but Dave Miles here has his video camera, and the candidates, when they're talking, can see themselves. So that might be a distraction or not, I'm just warning you.
You know what we look like.
We're going to need another chair.
So I'm going to go down the list just the way it appears. So Kelly Brown's here. I'll explain. They get 1 minute, it goes down the list, then a 2 minute goes right down the same way. And questions for everybody at the end. Mark Ames, not here. Luke Hopkins.
Hello, I'm Luke Hopkins. 41 years here in Fairbanks, enjoyed all of it. I retired after 30 years of work at the university, career, and I'm currently ending my first term on the Assembly, so I'm running for re-election, as probably most of you know, I hope by now, with such a short time left before the election. I've spent the last 2 years being the presiding officer of the Assembly, being elected to that position by my fellow Assembly members. When asked, what have I done? I think I've made our quality of life much better in Fairbanks, our borough government better. We've dealt with budgets. That's one of our most important pieces, where we've stayed under the tax cap for the 3 years that I voted on the budget. We've dealt with ethics, and I'll talk about more of that in my 2 minute space of time. I've also dealt with responsible development in our community, and I'll speak about that more in my 2 minutes. But I ask you for support. Thank you very much.
So I want to make something clear. Luke's running against Mark Ames. That's Seat B. Guy, Day, and Valerie are running for Seat I. So Guy, just going down the list. Wait, here's here.
All right. I'm Guy Satley. I probably won't use my allotted 1 or 2 minutes. I'd rather take questions.
Put it up close.
Hold it up. We're going to use a microphone. Right. Wonderful. I served in the Peace Corps for a couple of years in the 60s, and then drove up the highway in '69, and ended up in Fairbanks for the last 38 years. Bought some land in '71, '72, and live on it, and plan to spend the rest of my life here. Got involved in borough issues in the mid-'80s over zoning issues. Ended up on the Planning Commission. Juanita Helms appointed me to the Planning Commission. We rewrote the zoning code, Title 18. That took a year, 2 years of citizen involvement, public hearings, and so on. Really an arduous process for a voluntary commission. And ran for the Assembly in '88 and came in second in a 5-way race, and ran for the Assembly in 1990 and won. And that was the first of 4 terms I've served on the Assembly. And maybe we'll get to some issues on the next go-round. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
My name is Dave Miles. This last week I published a list of 5 questions I asked all the other candidates. The first was if they were against the sales tax. We've always voted it down here. If they were for public transportation. And that's been an issue that I've always brought up that hardly seems to be mentioned by the other candidates. I'm so glad we finally have added evening bus service. The other questions were if they were for the homeowner exemption increase from 20 grand to 100 grand off your house before it's taxed. A big step to help people stay in their own homes. State-funded land grant schools, that's another big issue that's not addressed. And my personal issue is to split the property tax off improvements so people are free to invest and to stop idle land speculation. Thank you very much.
Valerie?
Thank you so much, Interior Democrats, for inviting me to your meeting. I'm Valerie Theory, and I'm a 31-year-old resident of Fairbanks. I have 2 girls. They're both in college now. They've gone through Barnett and then went to Randy Smith and then graduated from Lathrop. My father's living with me, and I'm an attorney in private practice. I'm currently Deputy Presiding Officer, and it's been my pleasure and honor to serve you 4 terms now. I first started my public service on the City Council and am ending my one of 3 terms on the Assembly. Besides being involved in local politics, I had the pleasure of serving as the attorney on the advisory board for alcohol and drug abuse, and I certainly hope that you would consider me in the upcoming election. Thank you.
And we'll start over with the second round of Jeopardy. Oh, I mean, Luke, 2 minutes.
Okay, for $400, I'll speak to you about why I'm running. First, again, thank you all for being here and staying here while we present our cases. But one of the biggest things that the Assembly does, of course, is the budget. And in that budget are issues on transit. There's issues on how we work on land development, both the sale of properties that the borough owns and setting that out for sale, and also the regulations and the nature of land use, zoning, etc. Then there's the other piece that comes into play with budgeting, and that's when we receive revenue sharing. And we hear issues on what are you going to do to reduce our property taxes? Well, our Assembly sets aside money to reduce property taxes from that revenue sharing. Then we also deal with some of that extra revenue sharing on economic development. There's pieces that we put out there to have spent on trying to get our community to improve commerce. We're in competition. We're in competition with Anchorage. We're in competition with other communities around the state. That's what I do when I'm on the Assembly. I'm thinking of those things when I'm voting. On transit, I put forward an amendment with some of that monies that came in through municipal aid from the state to offset and reduce the fare prices last winter when the federal grant ran out, and that gave free ridership through the winter. Well, all of a sudden, everyone was going to have to start paying full fare. I didn't think that was the best thing to do with municipal aid money. That was to reduce the cost of energy, and that was one of the descriptions. So I put that money forward. We also funded the extension of hours for the transit. You'll hear a lot of issues about transit and extending bus service, and that's what we funded. And that's what we do on the Assembly. We look at how to make life better in our community. And 2 minutes is a short time, so I ask you for your support, and there's lots of issues, and always stop by the Assembly meetings. Thank you.